Okay, good evening, good evening, good evening, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to those on Instagram, those on Facebook, those on YouTube. Welcome to the late one with yours truly, Silver and Sidil, on In Review, where we look at some of the top news. Pantielu joined. Thank you for joining us. I want to get a lot of people involved tonight in the show. I want to get your questions and also what you consider as some of the top news. Today is a beautiful day in the UK, 7th of the 10th. Overcast as usual. We are getting there. I think things have moved on. I went into the office for the first time the other day for a full day, and it was strange getting onto the tram. And what about you? How are you been? Have you been getting onto the tram, getting into work, being around people? I know some guys have to be around people a lot, but it was sort of strange being around lots of people a few days ago. But there's a sense that things are getting back on track. We've seen the party conferences where everybody's at the conference, close knit, close together, no social distance, hardly in the mass, Labour conference, the Conservative conference, and things are just happening. It's like there is no COVID, but I think the reality is that we have got to live and we've got to move on no matter what. So, without further ado, for this week, let me just bring in my guests and just welcome them. Hi, guys. How are you doing?
Oh, good. Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening. David, I must say I like that purple thing in the back. That's really funky, man. It fits in with the colors there, isn't it?
I try to be funky, fresh, Silborn. You know me.
What can I say? Garry, you need to step up with the plate, but you're still in your space.
Well, looks like I'm gonna have to get some funky Della lights and some spinning tops and all of that to keep up with David. Man.
David, if you press a button, does those lights start to do some
Yeah,
spin?
but the conversation has to flow. We need to get more guests on, and I'll pull out some more tricks.
Well, I realize that the nightclubs and all those things are going to start opening up soon based on some reports. So I guess you're setting the stage.
Oh yeah, I got my DJ decks right down below. You can't see them,
Oh
but
my
they're
days!
ready
Oh
to
my
rock
days.
and roll.
That explains. So that
The
thing on your
headset.
head. Oh my days! David. I went out of my way and got one in. I mean,
Oh, there you go. See?
so Garry, I think you're still missing out, Garry, because you know what I mean.
Oh no, Gary's not missing out. You can see there he's got it
Oh
in the
my
background too.
days! So we got it there.
We're all ready to party.
Oh my
Already, mate.
days!
Already to go.
Already. Well, listen, guys, listen. I went into the office for the first time because they're breaking in, and it was sort of a bit strange going on the tram and just really, being around people. It was so strange. I mean, I've been out regular, but just being in that norm. I guess, David, that is no, that's normal for you, isn't it?
It's normal, but it's interesting that people are getting back to that normality.
Mhm.
And when I say interesting, it's good. It's it means that people are able to feel confident in getting back outside, getting back to work, getting back to seeing familiar faces and unfamiliar faces as well. Obviously, there's a lot of people who would have changed jobs during the period of this pandemic, and those changes of jobs would have been accompanied by Zoom meetings as opposed to face-to-face meets. So, this is a good transition period now, and I hope people do feel confident and safe in the workspaces that they have afforded to them going forward.
Yeah. And what about you, Gary? With get things are getting back on track.
Well, yeah. I mean, since the beginning of the year, mate, everything's been back on track for us. I mean, we. I'm not on the tram. There's no tram in Leeds, and I'm certainly not on the underground. For there's nothing up here for where that's concerned. But I've been on the road, and it's a slow progress. I mean, everything that Dave says, really,
Yes.
I agree.
Yes. And welcome, natural beauty, peace and love, silver and silver on live. Michelle Clark, what about you? Have you been on the track, Jack, getting things up going, and those on Instagram? What are you guys saying? What it is really about getting back? Things are getting back on track, whereby COVID is uh, something we've got to live on. And David, I'll go straight into that. Where are we now with COVID, in a sense?
Well, I mean, you can see that today we've had the relaxation of the number of countries that are on the red list
Yes.
to the 7 countries now. So there's obviously moves afoot to understand and appreciate that our level of vaccinations are such that we feel that we can now hopefully deal with the arrivals of international travelers into the UK. And that
Yes.
would hopefully bode well for the economy going forward, because there's no doubt that we need some strengthening of the economy going forward in order for us all to go out of this a little bit more successfully. You've got to think of other countries, obviously, that are going through this pandemic, and obviously it does affect other countries. But at the moment in time, we need the UK economy to flourish. So the travel industry has obviously rebounded and said that this is a positive news, and I can't see that not being anything other than positive. It's unfortunate that there's still 7 countries on the list, and I would hope that those countries are able to handle the regional or international the regional problems that they have with regards to vaccinations. So that's great news. We're still battling with the pandemic here. Obviously schools are now the new focus of energies in regards to how we combat the not only the flu virus but also the coronavirus as well. So schools are rolling out flu vaccinations amongst kids as well. As well as the discussion about whether kids should be vaccinated, and that's a separate entity, and that's not something that we're focusing on at this moment in time. The main thing is trying to avoid the obviously the problem of transmitting the disease. So there's the real question about face masks and whether those will be reintroduced over time. I think that we're going to get case numbers going up. It's the flu season after all. And so we're going to find that's going to be the case, but it's how we respond to it. And I think the next model of how we respond is going to be treatment, because quite obviously, you get to a maximum level of vaccinations, a maximum level of numbers of people and patients who are able to have the booster top up, for example, for the vaccine, but that's not going to stop people from getting coronavirus. So we have to have effective models of treatment, and those treatments are being put to test at the moment in time. And I think it's a very positive sort of outlook in regards to how that transition will take place as well. So again, me, Mr. Positivity, in regards to the way that things may not look quite positive. I'm just a bit tired and drained, but my point is that there is definitely a positive thing here. We are moving forward. We are opening up. And as far as the pandemic goes and the affordment of health for people, then we're going in the right direction. And as far as coronavirus goes, now the next step is obviously how we battle the subsequent problems that coronavirus has caused. So the cancer patients, those people who are long waiting for cancer, those people who are long waiting for cataracts, etc. Those health ailments that have been on the back burner now, it's how we manage that. And it's that secondary phase that we're entering now that is the problem at this moment in time, because I think we can't just throw money to. We've obviously over the recent weeks seen how difficult it is to get people into the country to help serve other particular junctures like the HGV drivers, etc. So we do need more help in accessing in regards to health for the other elements that are going down at this moment in time.
Yeah, Garry, what's your take on what David just said a while ago?
Well, I mean, I think the biggest signal that things are really going back to normal, if not things are normal, is what's happened over this past weekend at the Conservative Party conference. Nobody there was wearing a mask. Yes. Everybody was behaving as if everything's back to normal. So that's the biggest signal that the country could ever get where this is concerned. And there was no concerns. Nobody threw up any concerns. Not even, I didn't watch it 24/7, but the times that I did watch or did listen on the news, not even the newscasters themselves threw up any question marks regarding the lack of masks. I didn't see anybody. Again, on one hand, I didn't watch it for any length of time, but the times that I did see, I didn't see any. But I think things are going back to normal. It's going to be slow. The normal that we know before the virus will not come back, but there is some sort of normality being put in place.
So David, what we are saying is that there's a practicality of moving on and recognizing that this is here with us, and it's not a management issue. How we
listen. So there's phases to this. When we first talked about the vaccine, which I was optimistic that we'd get, in the manner that it did. And it surprised me actually that we got it so quickly. It wasn't always just the vaccine; it was how you progress following the vaccine, and what life will look like after the vaccine, not only in the workplace but in terms of relationships that are forged in other walks of life, so social relationships.
Yes.
Nightclubs we talked about a little bit earlier, tongue in cheek, but people want to get back to enjoying their Friday and Saturday evenings, having a release from the work and getting the balance in life. So, it's how we were going to manage that situation. The vaccine was never going to be just a one stop shop.
Yeah.
There's got to be something else. And as I said to you before, the vaccine has a purpose. It has helped, but there's got to be other ways that we deal with this, and we need more effective strategies to deal with it, including the medicines that will be afforded to people if and when they do fall foul of the virus itself. So, it's a practicality now. It's a stepwise progression. I think to sit in, I'm not saying that anybody's done this or any one country's done this, but to sit in silence and just try to bat it away and trying to isolate yourself, it's impossible to do that. Because at some point in time, you can't stop the virus from entering your shores. So it's about having effective strategies and plans. Do I think we've got one at this moment in time? Well, it's to be seen, and I think we've got to be sensible about the way that we go about things, and that sensible act is just respecting the fact that there is this virus around, acknowledging it, but also trying to move on with life, and I think that's just what we need to do now.
Yeah. Well, I guess in many different ways. I mean, people are trying to move on, but as they keep moving on, I mean, things are sort of hitting them back, because if we move on quickly and we look at the struggle to pay energy bills next year, we're talking about the petrol bit, which is getting a kickback effect as well. Garry, are we seeing that as we are moving on, and also the £20, which I think that has stopped now, isn't it, for the funding there? That's going to put people into poverty. Is that really that everything is happening at one go, Garry, at the same time?
Everything is happening at one go. I think, Seymour, that to me, probably I let me put something in the mix here. I mean, I think everything was, there's something that has been planned to bring online at particular times. Now, why all of a sudden is there a gas shortage? I mean, didn't they see this coming before time? Didn't they know it was going to happen before? I think they did. I think I mentioned that last week. The petrol or the fuel, which includes diesel, that's gone up. I mean, that's really shot up.
Yes.
I mean, never mind, as you mentioned, the £20 a week thing that the government has withdrawn. I think that they could have there could be a rethink to bring these things in at another time, if ever, because things have gone up. Things are going up. It's even the one or two of the supermarkets. I mean, they're saying that they're having to pass on the expenses to the customers because of fuel.
Yes.
And with all of this taking place, it's going to hit some people very hard. It's going to cause some people pain, but I don't know. I don't know if my friend David can help me with this.
I think David sort of pointed out, I think the last time we were on, because we weren't on last week, was that the timing is a key factor, isn't it? It's like they want to get things into track. They want to save money, and they're talking about getting tax up, but at the same time, the people are getting hit left, right, and center.
You can't say any more perfect than that. It's what I said last 2 weeks ago, and the timing is poor. And in terms of planning, there has been none. This isn't something that just reared its ugly head now. It's been known for at least the past year or so. There was I'm not into falsehoods, but I've seen this. But I know that the energy minister was aware from about this a year ago, and it was pointed out on Twitter, I think 2 weeks ago, if not a week ago, by the ex prime minister elect for Labour Party. So it smacks of real strange kind of planning in regards to the way the Conservatives have gone about things. I'm not here to go red or blue here, but I just don't quite understand in this particular matter, in regards to energy. Energy companies have been calling out for this for a while, and why there was no act. It's as though, and I'm not hiding behind this, and I'm hopeful that the powers that be aren't hiding behind this, but COVID clouded people's judgment and clouded people's minds. I'm not saying that that's what occurred. I'm just saying that it seems like people took their eyes off the prize,
Yeah.
when, as electable leaders, that should not be the case. As I said to you before, within the region of health, COVID-19 is here to stay for a prolonged period of time, but that doesn't mean that every other health condition goes out the window. As clinicians, we know this, and I think as political leaders, that should be, first and foremost, a knowledge base that, as a consequence, we're in a particular jeopardy at this moment in time. So, yeah, the energy bills going up next year, I would hope that there's some way of facilitating some hardship sort of loans, or not handouts, but the assistance, grants, etc., to people who do really need it during the winter. What I would hope, again, reiterate, is that those people who feel they can't afford it, especially the elderly around the Christmas, don't choose to just turn off their bills, turn off their heaters. Sorry, not turn off the bills. Obviously, you can't turn off the bills, but turn off the heaters, because they're just worried about their bills. Because we don't want them going into hospital because as a consequence of poor health, because of they're cold and they're frustrated and they're anxious. So the spill-on effects of this is big, because that can drive a lot of fear in communities up and down the country.
And then this also makes, I mean, what Natural Beauty said. The truth is, our paycheck dictates the amount of truth we are willing to speak, and this is all profit over the life that is going on straight out. This is an agenda. Many people say it's an agenda because we look at what happened with Facebook. I don't know if you guys. I know you guys are higher than Facebook, and you guys don't really need those sort of platforms. Garry, you use those platforms, Facebook?
Well, it wasn't. Well,
Well,
it depends what you're talking about. If you're talking about the outage, are you here now?
Yeah, outage.
Yeah, well, it wasn't just Facebook, was it? It was WhatsApp and Instagram. So I guess it really affected all walks of social media. If you're an Instagram person who likes to put their business out on Instagram and pictures and all the rest of it, then it affected you. If you're just communicating with friends and family and yard and abroad, then it's going to affect you as well. And then Facebook, it affected everybody. So irrespective of what your social media presence was, it was a big outage. But sorry, you were going to say in terms of Facebook, Sylvan.
Yeah, I was asking Garry if he knows these things.
Yeah, well, I mean, Dave was addressing it in that it did affect, because I mean, every day I do a podcast.
Sure, yeah.
That's what they call podcast every day. So it affected me on the Monday. It was Monday, wasn't it?
It was Monday, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it did affect me. It didn't affect the Twitter or the YouTube, because I'm also going out on that simultaneously.
But can I say what I found out and what I understood is that even the platform that I use here, even though I'm not using the Facebook bit, but they had all these little alerts on it because of Facebook, the Instagram, and also the WhatsApp. Companies have merged their business, their platforms, their website with Facebook.
Well,
yeah.
Well, Facebook owns WhatsApp and
Instagram.
Instagram. So anything that affected Facebook affected WhatsApp and Instagram, really.
Which is terrible. Which is not good in my humble opinion, because once you have one social media company owning so many different platforms, you can see if you have a big outage, it affects everybody.
Right.
And you can imagine if it's the same similar thing if you've got multiple mobile phone operators,
yes,
and then it's owned by one operator and the whole thing shuts down, then we're in problems. So I think there's got to be a question mark over the capacity for Facebook, WhatsApp, Instagram to be broken down into individual. I know they've just been formed, not just, but over the past few years, they've all come together now. But I think that as separate entities, they are not. We've seen that because they've all been broken down, and it just makes you wonder a little bit about the infrastructure that's there, because and the fragility of it as well. Because we all know that once you get to a big behemoth beast of a company, it's very difficult to manage each individual kind of facet. So sometimes it is actually better to be a small brand, and not so small, but not so big, because the oversight is then a problem. And when poop hits the fan, like it did on Monday,
Yes.
to get that fixed is a really big difficulty. So I wouldn't be for one for more of the joining of social media platforms. Actually, what makes it interesting is them all being very separate. And I think that's the key in it for me. The shutdown was a rude awakening. The shutdown for my household, however, was actually quite cool, because there was nothing that we could utilize in that evening. And I'm not saying that I'm joined at the hip, but I would say I'm joined at the finger, at least in terms of my mobile phone. And so there was utterings in my household of, thank the Lord, hallelujah, this is brilliant. Long may this continue. Because actually you will have seen people saying that you actually brought them together for those hours, which is a good thing. So whoever put out the shutdown, I'm not saying it was a person, but whoever made that mistake, and maybe it was a mistake, was a good mistake to make.
Well, some people say that this is just like showing the key things that buttons that the powers that people press. Petrol, it shows you what happened with the petrol bit, how it just puts us on this sort of momentum there. Facebook shutdown, the power of social media. At the same time, a lot of people benefit, a lot of people business are so entwined with it, getting their shows going, getting their business going at the same time. So while one person said, thank God for this peace, another person is saying, I was shut down with COVID, I shut down with petrol, and I'm shut down with social media.
Yeah, standard.
And
the biggest winners were Twitter. I don't know if you saw that, but the Twitter was, I think their tweet was something along the lines of, don't quote me, but it was, hello, we're here, we're open for business, we're working, while Facebook was offline. So you're right, there are winners and losers in all walks of life.
Toptic also benefited a lot, and also these Telegram, the alternative. A lot of people are signing up for Telegram and Signal, and so they're like, Signal the plane. Garry, you know that? Signal the plane.
Don't worry, he's got the headphones. He'll be signaling in the plane shortly.
But as somebody said, I posted on my Facebook timeline a month ago that this was going to happen on this date. Wow, there we go. But doesn't it say?
I'm just worried with this up then.
Not your beauty, was it you? But don't you think this? And let's analyze this just in a minute or two. The level of sort of reliance that people are placing on social media. Because
I think it's scary. I think it's scary because if you invest so much in those entities, Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, and then that's it. We have no records to go to. If these companies all shut down overnight and never came back again, all that investment, time, energy in those particular platforms, all those pictures, all those tweets, all those messages, all those posts, all those stories are gone. And so it tells me that I'm not completely old school, but I do like the idea of having access to digital media without the actual need for online usage. So all those photos are all backed up ×2 on different media sources, so on different data sticks, because I want to keep those memories offline, just in case this kind of thing happens again. I don't tend to back up my messages, all of them, but if there are messages that are pertinent to parts of life where I feel it's necessary, then I'll back those up as well. So I think that's a rude awakening for people. They should actually appreciate and acknowledge the fact that this kind of social media platform is not forever. There used to be a product called MySpace, which is still there in memory.
Really?
But MySpace is still there in memory, but it was the thing before Facebook.
That's
And
Garry. That's Garry. My face.
MySpace, right? So you Google it, you'll find MySpace, and there was lots of things like Bebo and all the rest of it. So, those things are not forever. And whilst Facebook is a big company, a worldwide global leader in, I guess, in social media platform, it may not be here tomorrow. So I would implore people to back up all of their information. I don't hold any shares in any storage devices, but I would say that would be my top tip with regards to what's happened in the recent week.
Garry, what would be your top tip? Your top tip in regards to if things say for instance Facebook did not come back, Instagram did not come back, and also WhatsApp vanished. But what's your top tip for persons who level of reliance on it?
Well, I mean, I can only agree with David. I mean, I'm not I don't think I'm as tech as I used to in my younger years. I mean, I'm not that old, but I don't think I don't think I'm tip top in my tech world. But I mean, I agree with what David says. Dave said that Facebook won't be around for very long. And when I say that, is that we don't know how long it's going to be around. But one of these days, it's going to disappear. And if you do want to keep your your valuables with you, save them on other devices, because one of these days, echoing what David says, Facebook is going to disappear.
Yeah.
And if you don't have what you've got on Facebook saved somewhere else, then you're going to lose it.
Yes.
It's the same. It's the same with Twitter. It's the same with WhatsApp. It's the same with Instagram. Because you see, the reason why Facebook does what it does in buying these things or in buying other tech companies with new innovations is because they've got to keep their customers happy.
Yes.
If Facebook stayed the way how it was when it started, then Facebook wouldn't be around now. So I guarantee you that if another tech company comes around the corner and they are showing that they could outmaneuver Facebook, what Facebook is going to do, and I don't blame them to some extent, is that they'll probably buy shares in it or buy it out, because they've got to keep their customers happy. They've got to keep them well on top, because Facebook cannot afford to slip behind. They don't want to lose the customers. One of these days, they're going to sell WhatsApp. Why? Because WhatsApp won't be the in thing. They'll probably go towards Telegram. If Telegram, I'm just saying these things. I don't know what's happening.
I do wonder if they've ever tried to buy Google. Has Mark ever tried to buy Google? I wouldn't be surprised.
I don't think so. I mean, you see, these. Sorry, Dave.
No, go ahead.
These people, they're savvy. They're smart on where they hedge their bets as far as buying shares in companies. Because I wouldn't be surprised if Facebook doesn't have shares in Google, or if Facebook doesn't have shares even with Amazon, because they've got to keep the money at a level where they can at one point pull it back. So these guys are business savvy. They've got people working for them who knows where to put the money, because the money makes money.
So they are keeping it within the family. They have this club that they have, more than likely, isn't it?
Well, I would even say, yes, that up and coming companies that we haven't even heard of yet. They haven't even broken the market yet. I wouldn't be surprised, if Facebook or Twitter is putting money in those companies, because they see that in the future, that little company that may be around the corner or in another country or wherever, they're going to be the market leaders in that particular area in the next couple of years. They've got their money there.
Yes, yes,
They got
yes.
their money there.
Well,
Interesting.
it's I think it's more than just keeping the shareholders happy. Don't know if you realize this, but back in 2011, Obama met with the leaders of Google, Facebook, Twitter, Apple, trying to have an upturn in the economy in the United States. So there's a lot of money that comes with these companies in order to sort of move things forward in a positive direction with economy. So these are big companies, and they do have a lot of power in regards to the decision making process. I would take it from a government view and government standpoint, because they're working alongside government. There's a recognition that they have a lot of power. So, whilst I say Facebook be here to stay, I
Yeah.
think in some way it will, because that it is, but it will, as we've alluded to there, soak up, absorb either immediate threats or companies that it thinks are doing pretty well to move the process of what it desires forward. But the key thing I was trying to say there is that we don't know what happens with our data in years to come.
Yeah.
And so that backup really has to, I know we're taking a little bit of a different direction here, but that backup really has to come now, because you just don't know whether Facebook says, okay, do you know what, Mr. Burton, to access to your historic information, I'm going to charge you £5 per month or £15 per month. And I think that's the thing here. It would be very wise for people to sort of back up that data as
I,
quickly as possible.
yeah. Before we move on, I've heard that the last time when they have these sort of lockdown bits whereby there's a shutdown, it's a process of uploading the information which they have of people, you know,
Could
and
well.
going through some, that is something which is being said, and as we know with conspiracy theories, years after, maybe 2 years after, they all come around and say, well, they were right. But anyway, listen, guys, Cressida Dick and Cressida Dick. Let's say Cressida. I was gonna be facetious a bit, she's been around for a bit, isn't it? And she's seemed not to have it, isn't it? That she's somewhat is not with it. Is that a fair statement?
I'm going to hand over to Garry. As we don't have Anthony around, I'm going to hand over to Garry.
I wish Anthony was around. I wish Anthony was there, really. But I don't know, Silborn or or Dave. I think that she may have done her best, but I think that she needs to step down. I think she needs to step aside now and allow someone to come in and to kind of address the situations that are really breaking down the Met. The Met has been an institution for many years, and with all of the hurdles that it's had to deal with over the years, for this to happen now, and she's at the helm, and the government, it was I've heard, I think it was just this week or was it last week, where I heard that Boris Johnson has given her further 5 years. Am I right there?
Well. Recently she was reappointed, if you can recall. She was recently reappointed and
Right,
get the approval from Sadiq Khan and also
right,
the government. So
right.
she's just on another term now.
Yeah, I mean,
Uh,
I think she needs to go. I think she does need to go.
mm,
There has to be a change, and there's several other changes that I think that needs to happen. But somebody, you see, in my mind, you've got people who've done very well,
mm.
extremely well, and they step down. If you've got somebody who's done very badly, they should do the same.
Yes, 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 yes,
They
yes.
should do the same. I
The,
mean,
mm, I mean, you guys know about the recent situation there with Sarah Everard, and I think that's the backdrop of the whole thing, whereby this cop, Mr. Cousins, raped, killed her. I mean, the devastating thing about this case is the fact that the parents, while they're sad that their daughter went, but they're extra disappointed and really hurt the fact that he burnt the body. You know what I'm saying? So they
Well,
couldn't even
yeah.
get to look at her. So, and they're talking about the canteen culture in the police force. As some will say that she's one person that cannot actually monitor it, but she seemed to be presiding over a lot of things, as Anthony put out a lot. And
Yeah.
therefore, is it a time that she pack it in? Because sometimes a fresh ethos brings in the whole thing. And I think what they're saying from the article, which I just flagged up there, is that they are she want to bring in some czar, some top guy to come in, high pro they call it. The Met Commissioner Cressida they committed to appointing a high profile figure to lead the review and to work alongside her on standards, corruption, and sexual misconduct. And this person will also hold her accountable. What do you think about that, David and Gary?
It's it's hard to disagree with anything that Gary's just said. She has been extended another 2 years. She has the backing of the government. I think it would be very, very difficult to see how she would resign. However, given the backing, you think about government ministers who have got the backing of the prime minister.
Yeah.
How many of them fall on their sword and decide to resign even in difficult, turbulent situations? So I think she's got that backing. She'll be there for 2 years. She obviously wants to stay in that respect because she's not fallen on her sword. And we obviously all hope, I would expect all of us, regardless of what you think about Cressida Dick, that she's successful in changing the apparent problems, not apparent problems, but the problems that do exist within the Met at this moment in time. Do I think she'll be able to achieve that in a 2-year period? I would hope that she can. I think it's a target. It's just how she looks to do that. And I think with anybody that is big like this, even with great leadership, you can still have problems on the shop floor. So she needs people to believe in the project. She needs people to deliver on the project. And there may well be people within those positions that aren't looking to pull in that direction, and that's where the problem is entailed. Because difficult, I think, when you're in those kind of positions to move on or to be moved out, so to speak. So to change the ideas of policing, I think you've got to restart from the ground up, as top down. And for me, it really is crucial that appointments from now onwards, if this has not already been taken into consideration, now onwards, really need to scrutinize the background of proposed officers. But it also needs to, the police officers who may well be in difficulties are well supported. Because what we don't want them is supported by people who are very supportive, and then to transit into things where the police are not operating in the best interest of the public. So those are my thoughts on the matter. I'm not buying. That isn't my tidbit to try and become a police commissioner. I'm very happy in the position I'm in as a doctor. But I think there are similarities you can see in how you would go about trying to improve a service, and that's what we're looking at: service improvement. Taking it to basics, it's about service improvement. It's about being able to connect well with your customers, and your customers in this is the public. And I think that there are many things that can be done to improve that critic and her her esteemed colleagues will be able to do to try and help with the way that police is done in this country.
I must say, before I go to Garry, I must say I'm not a stickler type of person that anytime something happens, gun for the people to resign. Because I believe when you gun for the people to resign, okay, there are some cases where they need to go, but sometimes I believe they need to stay and sort out the mess in a way because they're so intrinsically linked with it. And like maybe the proposal that she's talking about, that 2 years working with that person, she has the inside and the outside links as to what is really happening. And by virtue of such, she may actually be the person that get this going and then move on. Gary?
That it all depends on what it all depends on what it is, Seymour, in relation to what you have said. It all depends on what it is. as you were talking, well, as Dave was talking and yourself, the
Yes.
thought came to me about our own countryman. We don't hear much of him, but whenever he does speak, he speaks. I love to hear him, and his name is John Barnes.
Yes.
John
Yes.
Barnes, he's so articulate, and I think every time he does speak, I don't think the authorities or the agencies really like to hear him speak, but he hits the nail on the head.
Yes. Yeah. He always gets straight to the point,
He,
isn't it?
he, he's saying that you've got to change society. You cannot change what you need to change, like in this case, in the police
Yes.
force at the top. That's not, you can't do anything there. And I agree with Dave in that you've got to start from the bottom up, not from the top down. Society needs to change. Where are the policemen coming from? Where are the police women? Where do they originate from? It's from the communities. They're coming from the neighborhoods. They're coming. Some of them are coming from families that are out and out racist. That's what we know. That is what we've got to realize.
And yeah.
Some of these policemen are coming from. Let us say, let's call spade a spade here. Yeah.
Mm.
Policemen are coming from broken homes.
Yes.
Policemen are coming from one-parent families, whether that
Yes.
may be, you know, the father or the mother.
Yes. Yes.
Policemen are coming from all areas of society.
Yes.
When they come to the police force, they're not putting down their baggage. They're not putting down the baggage at the door and says, "Okay, I'm a different man now." They're not doing that. They're coming in with everything on their shoulders. Look what happened with Cousins.
Yes.
They gave him, I can't remember the name, they gave him a nickname. Everybody knew him as far as colleagues were concerned of what he was. Yet
Yes.
nobody seemed, well, they just take it for a laugh. Oh, it's a joke,
Yes.
rape, rapist, whatever. Or I can't remember what it was. Even was it 2 years ago? I can't remember, about two other policemen that were jailed because of what they because of what they did. You see, what we fail to understand is that these people, these men, these women, in whatever profession it is, they're coming into the profession with baggage. And you
Yes.
cannot change the baggage when they get to the top. You cannot do it. And that's what's happening. We've got to change the mindset of society. And my friends, if that, it's taken how many years now? I mean, it's 100, well, just say 100 years, 200 years, 300 years. I mean, must we say that it will never change? Would it be fair to say it will never change? It doesn't matter how much legislation is brought through
Yes.
through Parliament. It doesn't matter how many laws is passed. Doesn't matter, what the governments of this land will ever do. They will never ever defeat the problem of whatever needs to be done unless it starts in society. Well, going further, as I've said, unless it starts in the home.
But it's interesting what you said, because and you mentioned Johnny Barnes. Because Johnny Barnes always say, in order to, how are you going to stop racism in football when all the people who are going to the football are coming from the homes? So it's a home factor that deals with the whole thing. It's a reflection. Anything that happens out there is a reflection of the home, or a reflection of society. David, your last word before we move on from this point.
Yeah, I mean, I take the point that John Barnes makes, and I wouldn't go against that. But what I would say is there are some things that are achievable in a short-term goal, and some things that are achievable in a long-term goal. And I think a longer-term goal in terms of changing society is going to take years, generations to do so. But it doesn't mean that we have to not then sort of tackle the shorter-term goals, which are the intolerance of sexism in a police force, intolerance of racism within a police force, and the ability to accept those things as a standard, I think, is the wrong direction. And as I said, it's about customer facing. It's about how you go about the job. Now, it would be wrong of me to say that there are no racists within or no racism within medicine. But what I do know is that I am well supported if I am in a hospital and I have encounter a patient who is racist towards me. There's no tolerance of racism. There's no tolerance of abuse. There's no tolerance of sexism. And I know that I'd be hung, drawn, and quartered if I even tried to do those things within the profession that I'm in. And I'm not in a different position or a different profession than a police officer. We are both there to protect and serve the public.
Yes.
So what I'm trying to say here is there is a simplicity to this. These things cannot be condoned in police office within the police system just because they're police. It's not condoned in my area, my arena, so it should not be condoned in their arena, and it should be called in any arena that we work in. So it's as simple as that. There's got to be that direction that's given from the top. There's got to be that direction from managers within the police stations, and people called out for it. You know, people must feel that they have the ability to call these things out. It's as simple as that. And if you don't feel that, you call it whistleblowing, you call it whatever you want. But the idea at the end of the day is, as a society, we don't accept racism, we don't expect sexism, we don't expect we don't accept abuse. Then we shouldn't be accepting it in any walk of or any job that we're in, especially those jobs which are there to protect and serve the public. So that's my feeling.
And speaking from what Natural Beauty said on Instagram, just like our judges, prosecutors, etc., everyone falls within that bit there. And I just want to go back to something from before what you said. That this was dealing with the Facebook bit. They preload the ensuring discussion with hugely selected images, devious and prejudicial languages, devious linkage, weak of false intelligence and selected leaks, as well there. Yeah, something to mention. I'm not sure that it making much sense because we sort of lose the plot where that was coming from. But it's interesting. But just moving on from there, and before we wrap up, two more topics I want to talk about. But is Black History Month still seen? I don't know. Has it lost its flavor? I'm not sort of hearing that much of it, or it's because maybe my ears is not to the ground. Even though I've started a program, and I'm doing some different programs on it because I started one of my two shows I've done it so far on Black History Month. What's your take on Black History? Because people are still going around. Daddy Hearn put a video out recently saying he's not celebrating it because they're relegated 1 month to us. Some people say, hey, why are you waiting for them to give you? Why don't you just live it every day? What's your take on it? Are we expecting too much?
I think I don't think everybody's going to be happy. I think we start from that level, that point. You know, not everybody's going to be happy with what is undertaken within a particular month, or whether it should be. I mean, not whether it should be celebrated every day. But the fact is, it's about the energy and the momentum that's behind things. For me, okay, I celebrate things. I'm a positive person, and I think if you go through life being quite negative, then negative begets negative, and it comes a snowball effect. So let's talk about the positives. From Black History this month, we've heard that part of a curricula in Wales, they're incorporating Black history into the curricula. Fantastic thing. I think anybody can look at that negatively. I mean, you can say, well, it should have been done before, or why isn't the rest of the UK tagging along, or who's going to be teaching the Black history, and so on and so forth. Let's start with the positive. It's become part of the national curriculum in Wales. That's fantastic. I don't think we can look at that negatively, as I said. In regards to the teaching of Black history, I think it's upon us as Black people to teach that history. It's as simple as that. Yes. So if we're going to have a Black History Month, then it's upon us to put out that as in terms of agenda items and to celebrate that as well. So do I think we still need to have it? Of course I do. Do we need to look at the negative aspects of why, so on and so forth? I don't think we do. We just celebrate the positivities. It's a history month for celebrating. We don't look at other months where, for example, Gay Pride have a month. We don't look at, and I'm sure gay people don't look at it and say, oh, it's all a bunch of negativity here, guys. I'm not equating the two, Black history and Gay Pride. What I am saying is people have months to celebrate whatever it is they want to celebrate. Why aren't we just doing that? And yes, we can do more for sure. I think that the problem, and I hate to hide behind this, but the problem is we still aren't completely out of this pandemic. We still aren't able to completely relax and join together and have functions and have socials which would help to promote Black history. And I think I would look at next year as probably being that time for us to do that. But that doesn't mean we should rest on our laurels this year, and we should still
Yeah.
discuss pertinent aspects to Black history and culture going forward. The other thing I will say is,
Yes.
whilst we have a joke and a laugh about the television license, there have been a lot of positive programming on the BBC in
Yes.
regards to Black History Month as well. So I have to, again, give due diligence, due process and due acknowledgement to the BBC for doing that, because, again, it's about that degree of positivity.
And there was another channel, I think it was ITV, who did one day.
Yeah. Oh,
completely.
it was I think it's Channel 4 actually. But yeah,
Channel
the fact
4,
is, yes, again. So
Mm.
let's look at those positive. That's not been done before. There is still a momentum that needs to be built up here, and we are finding new ways in this post-pandemic or peri-post-pandemic era to try and move agendas forward. So whilst I would say there's not an array of events
Yes.
occurring this month, I think there are still in segments positive things, and I think it's still a month that we should utilize to celebrate our culture and history.
Garry, what's your take on that?
I want to throw a spanner in the works there, mate.
Don't worry.
It's fine. We need to have some debate.
Get a reach.
I have to wonder, why is it taking so long? I mean, we've been here for so many years. Why has it taken so long for Black people to get on the television just for one day? Is one day enough, or for 1 month? I think it was Channel 4. Yeah, it was Channel 4 that all the adverts had Black people in it. That's
Yes.
good, but why can't we have it every month? What I mean, they've they say BAM or BAME and all, and then they broaden it so wide that they bring all the other ethnicities into this, diluting Black.
Mm.
Now, I'm not a racist, but what I'm saying is that for us as Black people, yes, we've been here a long time.
Yes.
We've got talent, gifted men and women, not only to be running around a track, not only to be playing football, not only to be, doing things to bring the medals back home. We've got brilliant minds out there, very good entrepreneurs out there with money to invest.
Mm.
But is it only in October that we can highlight these people? No. I think we've got to let. Listen, they've been talking about a thing some years ago, or even this year, about the Black Pound. If every Black person, family, entrepreneur started to withhold the Black Pound or the pound and invest it in Black business, move away from, let's say, move away from the Tesco's, move away from the Aldi's, move away from the Morrisons or whatever, and start going to our own businesses. Do you know the effect that would have on this country? There are many radio stations that are Black run,
Yes.
Black owned to some extent. But what are they? They're pirate. Why aren't they given the licenses to do what they do? They're hitting their communities. Okay, fine.
Yeah.
You may bring a point. I don't have the numbers or the figures or the, but they may have been involved in things, and they may be saying things that they shouldn't. Okay, fine, that's okay. But help them, help us, help us along. And I think we've got to send the signal across the board.
Yes.
That we are men and women gifted in all areas, and we also can make a valid contribution, again, not only in the sports, not only, in our churches, because we've got a lot of churches, not only religiously, but in other areas like yourself, Dave. A lot of doctors out there, but again, are they a lot of nurses? But are they treated right? Are they supported as you think black nurses should be? Probably not. I don't know. You be the best one. Out of the three of us, you may be the best person to answer that. But I think it needs to be addressed.
Garry, there's a gentleman that I had on the show named Kareem Jamal, and I put up a picture up a while ago. He's doing this play called The Voices of Black Folk in Unexpected Places, October the 8th and 9th. I'm doing a plug at the same time in Peckham, in Birmingham, October the 14th and 15th, in London, again in Edmonton, October the 20th and 21st. And I put the question to him on Saturday night when he came on to talk and sit. And he said, I don't wait for anyone to give me a date when I celebrate or do anything for Black history, because he talks about Black heroes of fame, Black Hall heroes of fame, Black Hall heroes, and many different aspects. And one of the essence of his show, and I'm plugging it here for persons to actually tune into that show, is that over the centuries, you have Black people who have been positioned and done great things, but we are not knowledgeable of them. So, like David and Garry, and for audience out there, sometimes we say the first Black person has ever done this, the first Black, and everybody say, "Wow, my glad back burst." But what he has done, he has dissected and dig down to find there are many firsts which has been around a long time. So it's a more of an educational thing. So what he's actually saying as well is that we have a responsibility to actually teach ourselves and to create the opportunities at the same time than to wait for so-called background master to give us that space, Garry. And for me personally, I'm of that view that if there's a Black History Month, add fuel to the fire and put water on it. That's my thing. I mean to say that, and as you add fuel to it and more fuel to it, it spreads like wildfire, that it cannot be contained and you have to go into other month. Because I have to look at the plus factor or the Black element. And as David said, sometime, the school is now have this in the curriculum. There's another lady from Wales. She was first black headmistress or so like that. They put up a big statue of her. One could say, why now? Why not then? Why put it? Why have this thing on the curriculum now? Why not then? So that's just my view. But I think all ideas contend, and I don't knock anybody else for their views. But I just say from my side, I just add the plus or add the fuel to the fire. That's just my.
I mean, I completely hear all the points that Garry makes there. I do, ruminate on the fact, yeah, why now? But I also think, what Black History Month does is it gives you a fulcrum to operate and give information to the masses. Information can still be given to the masses in the other 11 months. But if you have a fulcrum, a focus point of October being that month where we discuss Black history, it means we all come together and discuss that, and then it feeds out again. And then maybe you just need that little bit of a pickup, that bit of a dive to Jamaica to pick up some sun, to go again in October again to give to the masses again. So sometimes you just need that little bump. The bump hasn't been so big this year for the reasons I've contended with, but I take the points. Black history should be part of the curriculum across all four nations, not just Wales. But I'm happy. I'm excited. I want to see what happens in Wales, and hopefully that transitions across to the rest of the four nations.
Garry, do you think David was dropping words on us saying he's going to Jamaica again?
I think so, probably. Probably.
What do they say? They say, watch this space.
Watch this space. My space in Gary's space.
Gary's space. Everybody's space.
Yeah. Well, I want to put this out. Ladies and gentlemen, what's your take on that? We can finalize with that one. What's your take on Black history? Do you believe Black History Month should be celebrated? Do you believe Black history should be celebrated every day? And what's your take on? Because I believe that based on the lot of work which has been done over the years, a lot of lobbying which has been done over the years. That is why you have the curriculums and different things now in place because of the lobby factor. I'd love to hear your views. And guys, who is a Newcastle fan, by the way? Why is there a silence?
Deathly silence. Deathly silence.
I think
Come on, man.
Wow.
Newcastle, man. Yeah, lots of money there. David, aren't you a Newcastle fan?
Definitely not. I'm not excited about the news. I'm not very happy about the news. It's just one more potential competitor to the team that I support. I don't know what to make of the story in itself, to be quite honest with you. I don't really have that much of a thought on whether it's a good bit of news for the Premiership or not. But there's going to be lots of money, I would say, that's going to be thrown into the club. What I will say is I do hope that the money pitters down into Newcastle itself and surrounding areas. We all know that the north of England has kind of been left behind somewhat in regards to jobs and the effect of Brexit and so on and so forth. So if I'm not saying I want this, but I'm not saying I want the Saudis to have taken over Newcastle, but I think as a proxy, if there is anything to be gained, then I hope the people of Newcastle do well, and I hope that secures jobs for people. I hope it secures financial futures for people and families, because that's the key. I think you need to make sure that the people, everybody wants to eat, obviously, and I don't mean just eating. I'm talking about just eating in life, the fruits of life. And I think that's what I would say. People of Newcastle, surrounding areas, Middlesbroughs, the Sunderlands, etc. If the money filters down and it helps the people, then so be it.
Garry, what do you think about the fact that the Saudi Arabian state has been accused of human rights abuse, but with the majority owner, PIF deemed a separate entity that and any Paris issues were no longer an impediment to the takeover? That is one of the concerns that they're having, and of course we have heard about. Is it Abu Dhabi or Dubai, the crown prince, who recently spied on all the lawyers in his wife's case and the crown counsel and all those sort of people. They're saying you got these dodgy guys. The Western intelligence believe the crown prince ordered the murder of the journalist Jamal Khashoggi in 2018, and they are being feted. They have been feted.
Yeah, before Garry answers that question, this sounds like an Anthony question, so I'm trying to help Garry out here. trying to delay some time here. That's a tough question. But Garry, over to you.
I think it's a politically motivated. You see, with all of the allegations that they say the Saudi government is guilty of, the UK government will never step in. They will never step in and block that. Why? Because of money. And they know that if they once they do that and Saudi moves away, then whatever investments are in the UK, as far as
other investments, other things,
it's going to
Knightsbridge and all those sort of places. You know what I mean? A lot of things
political.
intrinsically linked.
There is one thing though, and we can always talk about it in the next show, but I think it's something I want for you guys and even your listeners to think about. How is it all of a sudden, after 100 years, they're able to make a vaccine for malaria, right? 100 years, it's taken. And it took a couple of weeks. Well, I'm done.
Saucy.
And it took a couple of weeks to do the COVID. It's quite strange, don't you think so? I would like to hear the views.
I'll give you my short feeling. It shows what motivation can do. Is my answer. The world needed push. I'm going to say the world needed a vaccine. Unfortunately, or fortunately, the world didn't need a malaria vaccine. So that's the way that I look at things. Money does talk, unfortunately. Lives is kind of not kind of money talks. Life is put on the back burner. Unfortunately, that's just how that's my reflection on things. But in the degree of positivity, it's fantastic that we've got it. It will save countless number of lives, and moving forward, it's a positive thing, quite obviously. But I take Gary's point completely. It's an interesting thought.
I like hold on, I like that answer there, because he's done that big spiel and then placed my little comment.
Gary, you can see I'm motivated for political office and political arena. That's where I'm trying to position myself.
I think the spirit of Anthony is hovering over you, David.
There is a talk show host in Jamaica, the late Wilmot Perkins, and his laugh would be coming like, you know what I mean? He's to the stage. Anyway, in wrapping up, 1,000 Black Boys says 320 billion say they won't step in. That is the government when it comes on to the whole thing with Saudi Arabia and the takeover there. And 4 to 5 months for this 1,000 Black Boys. I'm not sure which you're saying. Are you talking about the vaccine or so? Well, ladies and gentlemen, listen, I want to thank you so much for joining tonight. And David, yourself, you're going to chill down. Because you look so chill, man. That background looks so chill, man. I love it, man. Love it. The chill background. Gary, you're in your space.
Okay, you have to create that. You have to create that positive energy. It's about positive energy.
Positive energy and positive vibes. Well, listen, have a good one, yeah, and all the best till the next time. And of course, Gary, we're gonna have to do a show specifically this month on Black History and Black History as well.
Okay.
David, all the best. Good night.
All the best. Good night.
Cheers.
Thanks.
Take care.
Good night. Good night.
Take care, Gary. All the best. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining tonight on the late one, and for those on Instagram, those on YouTube, and those on Facebook. Thank you for your comments. You've seen the show, you've heard the different topics. Of course, we'd love to get your feedback on some of them, especially on Black History and Facebook, social media. Please let us know, and remember to like and subscribe to the Silburn Show as well. You can get the contact details there before. info@silburn.com is the email address, Facebook at Silburn TV, Instagram Silburn TV, website silburn.com, Twitter Silburn TV, and as well you can follow me on my walk and talk motivational moments in the morning, every morning. And if I don't go one morning, don't worry, there's a video out there as well at the same time. My latest video was talking about what you do. You want to show the nice things on Facebook, the beautiful things, the best pictures. What I've done, I've showed when I'm doing my skipping and how I've failed in many ways, but I still push, and I'm getting perfect on my skipping, just like I'm perfecting on my push-up as well. So that is something which I'm worth looking at. And as Gary said, and David says, remember to start backing up all your stuff, back up everything, because when social media shut down, you see what's happening, and the level of reliance that you put on these things. You got to think about it. You know, in a way, when the shutdown took place, I was just chill. And I was speaking to somebody and said, listen, man, if I don't lose all those pictures and those images, what can I say? You know, sometimes you have all these papers in your house and all these different papers, and you look at it and one day you look at it and say, I've not looked at this paper for the past 25,000 years. What am I going to do with this paper? And then you just make a brute decision, a bullish decision, and just say, let me just get rid of it. And that is what we got to reach to a point where nothing should really, you know, come between us and our sanity. But only thing that we need, really and truly, ladies and gentlemen, and this is a drop mic. All you need is God. Boom, Jesus Christ. Straight in. You know what I mean? Let me do that juggler. Boom. Ladies and gentlemen, have a good night. God bless you. Silburn and out. Boom.